Diving into your next act or wondering what's ahead? Enjoy life as you change your path and embrace your authentic self.
Join me as we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of making big changes in your life. New directions both personally and professionally. Shake things up. But don't worry, you are not alone. On each episode, we'll be sharing stories, providing valuable information, and introducing you to others navigating their next act. So let's get inspired.
This is a Candy Factory Convo, Life in the Next Act with Gail Shane.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life in the Next Act. Today, we are going to talk with Nancy O'Halloran, Director of Development at YWCA Lancaster. Nancy will be discussing a career change that has left her feeling energized, engaged, and enriched. She will share how important the YWCA is right now and its mission to eliminate racism and empower women. Nancy has lived in Pennsylvania her entire life and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Scranton. She is also a certified yoga instructor. Nancy has a background in sales, but when COVID arrived, it forced Nancy to make a shift and make a difference in the nonprofit world. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Gail. Thanks so much for having me on today.
I'm so happy that you're with us, and I can't wait to hear more about everything you do at the YWCA. So my first question is, we'll get right to it.
Okay.
You were on the board of YWCA for 5 years while you had your sales career for the last 29 years.
Correct.
Enter COVID, and you lost your job. Tell us what happened.
Well, when COVID hit, like everyone, it's sort of a mad scramble to figure out how to be safe, how to do your job, how to keep things moving as normally as possible. So I got to work from home for 2 weeks, which I really enjoyed and was very productive. And then on my 64th birthday, the actual day, I got an email that said that due to COVID, our office was suspending operations and they would be letting people know when and if they were going to return to work. So that was quite a surprise and not the birthday gift I was hoping for, but it turned out to be a great gift. So my 64th year has turned around. I mean, other than worrying about people and hoping that they're safe and healthy, everything for me is going quite well.
And when you served on the board at that 5-year point and you lost your job, you shared with me about your mom.
Yes.
And things, so tell me more.
Oh, sure, yeah. My mother, a very strong, independent woman, lived independently for 98 years in Scranton. And at one point she was in the hospital for so long, she needed to have a skilled recovery. So I quickly called an ambulance and took her down to St. Anne's in Columbia for care, where she remained. But at 99, she really started to fail. Her memory wasn't as good. She was weaker than she had been before. And during COVID, she could have no visitors, so there was no interaction with me and limited interaction with others in the facility at that time. And then she fell and broke her hip again and ended up in the hospital, which created a lot of concern for the family and for her, and eventually led to her passing on. So at the new year, I was dealing with my mom being elderly and needing extra care from me and help from me, and taking care of her clothing and making sure she had her breakfast items and just visits in general. And work was very demanding at the time. So I did have to leave the board of the YWCA because I could not devote the time that I knew was needed. But at that time, the YWCA was going through some tremendous changes. We had a new CEO come on, a new director of finance, and the whole organization became revitalized. It's just amazing the difference they were able to make, and everything we do, is evaluated now against the mission. And that was, while other CEOs had great leadership qualities and did wonderful things for the organization as well, the commitment to the mission really came home. And I was aware of that before I left.
And then you lost your job and you got a phone call from someone on the board?
Actually, from the CEO. I was making a monthly donation, as everyone should do, to their favorite charity. And I called her to let her know that I lost my job and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen in terms of money coming in, and that I would need to suspend my payment until I could figure out what was happening. So she called me a couple months later and we started to have a conversation around development. And I actually was looking for someone for them to interview and hire. I never really considered myself in that role, and I had a lot going on with my mother at that time. So it took another phone call, actually, where there was a more direct ask if I would interview. And so with everything that had happened and all the changes that had already taken place, and the fact that I still had not heard from my current employer, my then employer, to come back and work with them again, I decided, why not? If not now, when?
And you made this decision to take this position as Director of Development.
I did, and I've never done development. So it's a lot to learn. But some of the skills that I've developed over years in sales are very transferable.
Oh, absolutely. Sales and marketing encompasses everything. What is your job description, Nancy?
Well, I thought about that, and I think I'm still finding out. I am very lucky to know a whole group of people who are in development who have been very helpful, and also a past Director of Development at the YWCA, John Jaskell. A couple of the past CEOs, Maureen Power and Michelle McCall, have helped me out tremendously in giving me direction. So my job, as I see it and how I explained it, is in the customer, or what we call customer experience in sales, but the donor experience. So the reaching out, how should we reach out? How often should we communicate? What do our donors and patrons expect from us? What do they want to know about us? So that's where I see most of my job focusing, making sure that we thank people for what they've done and let them know we're using their money in the wisest and most thoughtful ways possible to fulfill the mission, and support the programs that work towards the mission. So in addition to that, I participate in planning fundraising events, which again is new to me, and finding new sponsors, making sure all sponsors' information is in, and then serving on the leadership team, which when you're in sales, you're kind of out there on your own, like a lone wolf, hunting around a territory to find new people to engage in conversation with and to look for similar interests. So to be part of a mighty but small leadership team is just an amazing thing for me. I feel like I can give ideas and have input on direction of the organization and things that we do. And that is very empowering, which is the, eliminating racism and empowering women is the mission of the YWCA. And the empowering woman part definitely happened when I went to work there.
So you continue to build relationships in this position,
Yes.
and it's what what we're good at as women. You are in a very historic building. Can you tell us a little bit about that and if there's any needs?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, the YWCA opened as the Spanish flu was upon the United States of America. So it opened only to close during the time of the Spanish flu. So now 100 years later, here we are in the midst of a pandemic, and the building is still standing. It's, of course, been upgraded to a certain extent, and the programs have changed over the year. Some of the constants are the Mary Kepler Residence Hall, which is now home to 50 women and men with children. We also have emergency shelters for people transitioning in that area. So that has been a constant part, and the devotion to improving women's lives has always been a part of the YWCA. So the building is beautiful, and I wish I could take you all there. And after COVID, I hope you'll ring me up and I can give you a tour.
That would be wonderful.
There are gorgeous rooms in there and beautiful fireplaces, but do they really serve our mission at this time? And so we are looking for ways to improve how we use the space, how the space is allocated, how to generate some additional dollars from the space that we have. And so along with an old building comes problems. We just had a waterproofing job completed, thankfully just in time for winter. And now we're in the hunt for a generator. Everything changes when you have a 100-year-old building. The generator itself is from the 50s. So the needs and the requirements that are necessary today are different. So we had a similar situation with boilers a few years back, and 2 manufacturers stepped forward to offer us the boilers themselves. Now, we paid for the engineering and we paid for the installation, but it's wonderful to have community partners who are willing to lend a hand and their expertise or their product to help us move forward in serving the building and taking care of our programs and our people who live there.
100%.
Yeah.
The mission statement reads, YWCA Lancaster is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Nancy, can you tell us about some of the many, many programs and who they help?
Certainly. And isn't that the best mission you could ever hope to hear? It just makes me feel better just listening to it. Well, some of the things that are happening and some of the things that we do every day, I already talked about the Mary Kepler Residence Hall, but we just launched the Center for Racial and Gender Equity. And this is a very exciting time in our life to give people a place and a forum and an opportunity to gather both thought leaders and community organizers and work together towards our common goal in eliminating racism and empowering women. The center includes the Racial Equity and Gender Institute, which offers training for individuals in the community. And we do work with corporations on customized trainings to help develop the sense of being with all people in the planet, and try to understand from a different perspective all of our places, where we come from and how we can head together somewhere. So all of the training is under there. We also do community outreach. We have community now discussions, which are topics of interest to state, local, and national things that are happening around our mission. We do the Dorothy Height Book Club in conjunction with the Lancaster Library. And in December, our book is How to Be Anti-Racist. It's very popular. It was sold out for quite a while, but it is back on the shelves. So grab yourself a copy, read it, and join us. All of our events listed are virtual at this time. The racial and gender equity training programs can be hybrid, but that depends on where we are, as a city and what things are happening with the COVID situation. We also had the Women of Achievement event, which just wrapped up.
Congratulations. Were you a part of that fundraising effort and that event?
Yes, I was. I came in July, and that event went off in November, right after the election. And I think so many people were looking for something positive and something uplifting, and tuned in and joined us to honor 4 more amazing women in the Lancaster community who often work behind the scenes and unrecognized in their pursuits to eliminate racism and empower women. And this is our 4th year of lifting them up and giving them some recognition, telling their stories and letting the community know more about them. So those are the things that fall under the Center for Racial and Gender Equity. We also have quite a lot of early childhood development available. We have babies. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I'm often on my way into work at the same time that children are coming into the building. And I must tell you that all of those children are so happy to have on their little masks, and they look totally adorable. And they process through with their temperatures and getting their hand washed. And it's such a safe and welcoming place for all children to be. We do school-age children, both for the School District of Lancaster and for Penn Manor. So we're in 16 elementary schools providing those services. So we pretty much take care of people in our building from cradle to grave. Many of the women in our residence hall are aging. And I think that'll be a trend that we see continue because it is such a safe place to be, and everyone is welcome there. We also have a parent empowerment program that's done in conjunction with the court-ordered parent counseling program through Lancaster County. And so that is hybrid, where we help families stay intact or reunite families that are ready to be reunited. So that can be done, that's done somewhat in the home for visits, but also virtually as well. All of our programs continued on during COVID. And then we have something that we're probably not as well known for, but we have been serving the community for a very long time. And that's our sexual assault prevention and counseling center. Mm-hmm. For 30 years, we've been the Rape Crisis Hotline Center.
You have?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. Everybody should be. We're stand by people who are victims of sexual assault, abuse, or harassment, from meeting them at the hospital with soft, clean clothes and guiding them, staying with them through legal issues or advocacy issues. So we are their partner, as they navigate a particularly difficult time. And then we do prevention out in the school districts, in several school districts around the county, to help children know what it's like to be in a safe situation and what to do if one is not. So we give them mentors, we help them along those paths. So that is a very, very active program for us.
Nancy, has the need been greater this year with COVID than in past years, or is it about the same?
In the programs that we offer, I will say some of the childcare in particular has, gone up and down as school districts change their mind on if they're going to be in school, if they're going to be virtual, if they're going to be a hybrid model. So that program has changed quite a bit. We're very fortunate. We have access to a lot of PPE to keep everyone safe. But yes, I think all nonprofits would agree that this has been a very interesting year for us, in that how do we approach the community? How do we keep getting our mission across virtually? How do we pivot in every aspect of our programs and our functioning? To keep everybody safe, but to continue to provide what everybody else needs.
We have a comment from Karen Lee Morgan.
I see that. Hi, Karen.
Love what you do in your residence hall. You have one of my post-open heart surgery patients. She speaks highly of your program and the support she receives. Thank you, Karen. Thank you,
Karen. Yeah, and I should say that the people in our residence program, we really, they're adults and we treat them as such. We're not their parents or their guardians, and we encourage them to live as independently as possible. But LGH and nursing like Karen has been very helpful to us because, as I mentioned, many of our population in the residence hall are getting older, and some of them do have some limitations.
A question that I have is, how does YWCA partner with other community organizations? And you mentioned Community Now, which
Yes.
Piqued my interest when I was going, looking at the website. It's a great website. There is so much information.
Yes, we do a lot. I'm finding out every day.
Yes.
Really, we do a ton of things.
And that may be one that you partner with a lot of other community organizations, but
We do.
there's so many ways, some of the things you mentioned, and is there anything else that we missed?
Well, we didn't talk about Lancaster Votes, was an initiative started by our CEO when she came to Lancaster, and she wanted to put a strong force out there to register people to vote. This past election and every election coming up is the most important election we have. So coming up in the primary this spring will be all of our local judges and officials, and we really need to turn people out. So Stacy gathered together many different organizations, and they formed what's called Lancaster Votes. And you may have seen their signs with the QR around town that would take you to a site where you could register to vote or find a place to go and register to vote. So they logged 754 man hours, people hours, I should say, folk hours, in getting information out about how to register, if you can register.
That's
It was
awesome.
a nonpartisan effort. So that pulled together many organizations to make that happen.
And Keith says, and you allow home health to come in as it is their home?
I wish that I could give you a definitive answer on that, but I will say that there are restrictions in the building during COVID. And when we were locked down, we were locked down. So no one was allowed in or out. None of our programs were happening. All of our people were remote and virtual.
Right.
So, but at this time, yes, people are coming in to see their patients. And hopefully we'll never return to that red phase again, where we won't be able to provide that or let the residents take advantage of that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for everybody.
I can really understand why you are so passionate about YWCA, and I can understand how you feel so energized and engaged and enriched. How has YWCA changed your life, Nancy?
I think it's changed so much of my life and how I look at my life. For many years, I went to work to make a paycheck, to pay the bills. I'm a single mom, to care for my son, to keep a roof over the head and food on the table. But with this new job, I love my work. So I just don't live it. I love it. Every day I feel fulfilled. I mean, there's always a million things going on, so it's never dull. But I feel like I have purpose in my work. When I was in infrastructure maintenance sales, I had, and still have actually, great relationships with the clients that I worked with. And I cared very much about their building and its operation and its efficiency. But compared to a mission of eliminating racism and empowering women, it really does pale. So this is work from my heart. This is work for my soul, and this is work for the community. And I'm so glad to be with the YWCA Lancaster.
Was there ever a time that outside voices pushed you or encouraged you to make a change, and you're just like, no?
I definitely, yeah. Well, I was at my past job. I still have to get used to saying that. My past job for 29 years, and I am blessed with phenomenal friends and very successful people who have taken big risks and made big differences in their work lives and in their communities and with their families. And I was really risk averse. I felt that stability, something I had seen mirrored by my father, who never changed jobs. This is the stability that I need to provide for my son. I mean, of course, after he was graduated from college, I didn't have that excuse, but I thought, well, I'm almost there. A few more years, I'll retire and move on into the next chapter of my life. So I did not follow the advice, nor did I accept offers that came my way to interview or to consider doing another position. And I have no regrets about that at all. In fact, we had a situation at our building, and I called my past company to come in and help us with an evaluation, which they responded immediately and kindly with. So I think I was waiting for this moment, for this part of my life, for being 64 years old and being able to just focus in and do this work. So no regrets, happy to be in this moment right now, doing the things that I do every day for the YWCA Lancaster.
And you are very proud. You raised your son as a single mom. What makes you most proud? And is there any advice you'd like to share?
Well, I have been asked about the advice thing. In fact, people used to have people call me when they were thinking about having a child on their own. And I think you just have to follow your heart. Families look very different on how they're composed. And there is no way a family should be. Family's about love. Family's about working together towards a goal, being a part of something, knowing that you're safe. And so if you can provide that for a child, whether it's one that you would have on your own or one that you would adopt or foster, then that's what you should do. But I also have friends who never had children, and I have very big respect for them, because being a parent is, you sign on for life. It's not something that ever goes away. So you have to know what you're committing to, and just do what you know is the right thing for you. And actually, I will give a plug to Planned Parenthood, because when I was pregnant with my son, that was one of the first conversations that I had, was with their director for 2.5 hours in their old building on the 3rd floor in a big hall. And, here my son is, 32 years old. I am so very proud of him. I love him immensely, but I also like who he is. And he is an entrepreneur. He is finding his way in life. He's much better at taking risks than his mom is. And I am very proud of the man that he has become.
I love your heart. Please share with our listeners some upcoming fundraisers and how we can become involved.
Well, we always have something going on. And so the thing that's going on right now is we're part of the Barnstormers Christmas Tree Lane. Okay. And this year, because of COVID, the trees are not at the stadium, but they've been pushed out into the community. So the goal is to support and recognize local businesses, and promote them. So we were sponsored by the Blake Collins Group, which is a public relations firm, a strategic planning firm here locally. And so we have an 11-foot tree, fully decorated. We call it the inclusion tree. And that is in our town brewery at the corner of West Walnut and North Prince. So if you go there, you'll see our tree, and you can use the QR to vote for a tree for $1. And then the money goes to
I've
the
seen
organization.
The tree.
Did you? Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Beth Ross.
I have to vote. I'll vote.
Yeah, please do. We have community partner Beth Ross, who has a company that makes ornaments. So she made a lot of the ornaments on the tree, which are representative of our mission and the work that we do. It was a lot of fun. And Henrietta Heisler Interiors donated the 11-foot tree.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So we're in good shape there. So please stop by.
And what's coming up?
Okay, Race Against Racism.
Okay.
It's the longest consecutively run race in YWCAs across the nation. It's also, I believe, the biggest one that happens in Pennsylvania. And so last year it was totally virtual, COVID. And this year we're in the planning stages. So we're planning it live, we're planning it hybrid, we're planning it virtual, but we're planning it. And we're planning it to reflect the diversity of the Lancaster community and to give information about that as well during the run. So there might be some changes coming up, stay tuned. Registration opens February 1st. We generally have about 3,000 people participate.
Unbelievable.
And it is such a fun event. And this will be its 23rd year. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet, Karen.
Two of my favorite people, thank you for all you do. Oh, thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. And then after that, can I just add one more thing just to get people ready? We have Walk a Mile in Bear Shoes coming up in June. And what happened? That's more of a peer-to-peer event. And that does support the center, or the Sexual Assault Prevention and Counseling Center. It's more of an awareness situation event. And it is educational, but it is a little bit of fun. So basically, companies and groups organize into teams, and they send them in, and they come in with a certain amount of money, and they go off around the city on a walk, and then they come back for a little celebration and awards. So that's coming up in June, and I'm sure that we'll be out in communication about something else coming up. Please join our Dorothy Height Book Club in December. We also have a Community Now discussion coming up in December as well. So check the website. I have to check the website.
It's always
so I know.
Always updating. Yes. Always updating. Thank you. We will be looking at the website, and they're coming up again in April and in June. Mm-hmm. Besides everything else going on, you even have
that's right.
You have a movie and film and discussion series.
Yes.
Which I found on the website that I think is amazing.
Yes, it is amazing.
That's discussing it's social justice films. So there's December 8th is one and January 11th. So check that out.
We can keep you entertained almost any night of the week.
Yeah. Nancy, how do you see yourself in your next act? Let's say in 10 years.
Well,
yoga on the beach.
If I'm lucky enough to stay in this fabulous position for 10 years, that my goal has always been to retire in Costa Rica. I like the ease of it. I like the fact that I don't have to have a heat, a boiler in my house to keep warm. And so I could see teaching yoga then. Teaching yoga and doing it well really requires a lot of time and thought to progress families along and get them to the point that they want to be in their practice. So teaching yoga, staying warm, being in the sun with lots of sunscreen. And in this dream, I have a garden, but I also have a horse. I don't know why. I haven't really even ridden a horse to speak of, but that's my transportation method in Costa Rica.
I think it sounds like a great plan.
Thank you. You can visit me anytime, Gail.
Thank you. Thank you. You can reach Nancy O'Halloran at YWCALancaster.org. You can find more information about YWCA's programs and how to donate time, items, or dollars. And I'd like to leave you with this. Be like a tree. Stay grounded. Connect with your roots. Turn over a new leaf. Bend before you break. Enjoy your unique natural beauty. Keep growing. Join us next time as we aim to inspire, empower, and inform. Life in the Next Act is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective. You can find the show streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And you could subscribe to the audio version anywhere you get your podcasts.
Gail has experienced many acts over the years. Living a full life, she is a mother of 2 and grandmother of 3, and currently calls Lancaster, PA home. An entrepreneur at heart, she's owned several businesses, hosted a popular radio show, and has written for prominent publications highlighting nonprofits. While she holds her real estate license in Florida and PA, she believes her true calling is giving others a voice.
Learn more about Gail at gailshane.com. Life in the Next Act is produced by the Candy Factory Collective at the Candy Factory Co-working Campus in Lancaster, PA. Production support by Jason Mundock and Anna Tran. Administrative support by Ann Kirby, Ariana Henderson, and Krisha Martzell. Notes and links can be found on the show post at our website, candyfactorycollective.com. Candy Factory. Go.